Hello. In this presentation, we will be going over our Georgia Counts Microlearning Experience project. This is our team. Currently presenting is me, Tiffany, one of the instructional designers. Later in this presentation, our project manager Michael will present as well. Julia and Catherine also assisted with the creation of this presentation. In this presentation, we will review your original request and deliverable that we produced. After that, we will go over strategies for implementation and challenges we faced during the process. We will then conclude with recommendations for you moving forward. For this project, we worked with you all at UGA Cooperative Extension. You needed a quick and accessible way for Extension employees to learn to navigate Georgia Counts and complete several tasks related to reporting. You emphasized that this was especially important due to the fact that all county-based Extension employees are required to report their outreach efforts, teaching, and professional development in Georgia Counts, so having a quick, accessible way to learn to navigate Georgia Counts was especially important to you. In line with these needs, you requested the self-paced standalone microlearning units that could be completed in 3 to 5 minute segments. These deliverables will help ensure that Extension employees will be able to effectively create reports on outreach and program efforts using the Georgia Counts system, feel more confident in interacting with Georgia Counts, boost data integrity in written reports, and support the organization's ability to showcase its statewide impact through state and federal required reporting. In line with these needs, we created 5 instructional videos. We opted for the video format since you mentioned during our meeting that videos are often requested by employees since it makes it easier for them to follow as a step-by-step guide to look back on when they are completing the different tasks in Georgia Counts. The videos include an introductory video, Getting Started with Georgia Counts, which provides basic introductory information about Georgia Counts. We also created 4 step-by-step videos that will help employees walk through each task, creating activity reports, special actions for activity reports, FARs, self-reports, and all things media. As requested, each video runs 3 to 5 minutes. We used provided Georgia Counts screenshots and cross-referenced with existing Georgia Counts FAQ guides. This is from the first video, Getting Started with Georgia Counts. We used Canva to create these, and then we animated everything in Vyond. We used the branding materials that were provided as well for the video, so everything is consistent with the Extension branding. So here I will show you the first video.
Welcome to today's training, Getting Started with Georgia Counts. This training will provide a brief overview of Georgia Counts and its reporting structure.
So as you can hear, we have in a voiceover so that it's easier to follow. Originally, we adapted this from the PowerPoint slides, which are typically presented during orientation and with a presenter, and afterwards they provide the slides to attendees, but of course there is no audio to go with them, so this will be helpful for when they go back and review what they learned.
First, let's start with what is Georgia Counts? Through UGA Extension, Georgia Counts is the system we use to capture our outreach efforts, professional growth, and professional contributions to the organization. To find Georgia Counts, look in the CAES Faculty and Staff intranet. In the top left corner of the drop-down menu is Georgia Counts, and what is available to you, such as writing and pulling activity reports.
So, as you saw here, this is similar to how the other instructional videos are. The screenshot is presented and then the voiceover explains what is in the screenshot and how to navigate and get to the part that the user needs to get to in order to complete the task.
Pulling activity reports.
So who uses it? A wide range of people. When it comes to state-level reporting, a lot of people are involved, which can include, but is not limited to, administrative assistants, educators, agents, specialists, and administrators. There are also team members whose job is to manage reporting and accountability.
So
Welcome to today's training, George Accounts.
As we was discussed in our meeting with you, we also included these characters to make it more interesting to the eye, so it's bright and appealing and keeps attention.
There are also team members whose job is to manage reporting and accountability. George Accounts is important because it keeps track of many different reports, such as educational activities, professional work, and consulting. You may pause the video to read the full list of reports that go into George Accounts. To be even more specific, here is a list of different report types that you might enter in George Accounts. Don't worry, there won't be a quiz asking you to remember them all.
Here are some different examples of report types to give you a better idea of what we're looking for. If you're unsure where to start, you can always email gacounts@uga.edu to speak to someone who can point you in the right direction. Now that we know a little about reports, it's important to know when reports need to be submitted. Reports must be submitted as soon as possible, preferably weekly, no later than the 10th of the following month. The most critical reporting times for extension are April 10th, July 10th, October 31st, January 10th.
So we found it really important to make everything aesthetically look good and also consistent so that it's not confusing to the viewers, and the viewers also maintain their attention throughout the whole thing.
Why do we need to submit these reports? Reports tell our stories and all the hard work we've done in our communities. Reports also are required by state and federal employees. They let local leaders and funders know of the work you've done, let our communities know how we've been involved, and it shows that UGA Extension has value in our communities. We mentioned that reports are a way of telling our stories, but what does that actually look like? There are two ways to look at this. How does Extension tell our story, and how do you tell your own story? For Extension, the reports you submit inform impact statements, which are summaries of how our work has affected the community. The reports provide information to other sources of data, such as state, federal, and UGA databases. These reports go into annual statements. We can use the data we've received from reports to show the work we've done on CAS and Extension web pages. And sometimes our stories are found in media, whether that's articles, print, or social media.
So we did try our best to make the same information that we received on the slides look a bit make them visually appealing. So once again, the learners will want to stick with it and feel more motivated to continue. And also we wanted to make sure that the visuals were also helpful to the learner, not just there to look nice. So here's an example of one where it shows how it goes from impact statements to report data, annual reports, and so on.
Or social media.
Can you think of any other ways or examples of how you share your story locally? Take a moment to reflect on how you could see your work being shared with others. Thank you for attending today's training, Getting Started with George Accounts. For more information or assistance, please email gacounts@uga.edu.
Yeah, so at the end of every video, there is the information of where to contact if they have more questions or need more assistance. And now Michael will continue on with how strategies for implementation.
All right, so yeah, as Tiffany had promised, I'm stepping in now. This is Michael Hippo, the project manager, and I'm gonna be presenting the development cycle for this project, and then also just recommendations that we have for the client with implementation and just future use with the instructional videos that we developed. As you can see here, we started with we had about four phases with this work breakdown structure, and we started with storyboarding and developing a script. So outside of just what the PowerPoint had, there's a lot of information that needed to be filled in. So we're not the instructor that's in the classroom that's giving this that fills in other gaps. So we did our best with coming up with a script to try and help with engagement as well as fill in some of those gaps. At that point, we really wanted to get that across as notes in the PowerPoint and any kind of formatting kind of adjustments, and then we did the AI um, voiceover for and closed captions for the actual script, and then at the final phase we wanted to make sure the animation was smooth, closed captions lined up with when the AI was talking, and yeah. All right. So when it came to storyboarding and creating that script, it started as just a low fidelity storyboard. This was created with the screenshots from the Georgia Accounts database, the draft script, which was what I was mentioning earlier, where we try to fill in some of those gaps and just give instructional deliverables, just give just instruction in general, and then what we think the approximate time for each of these video segments would come out to, which is a little bit difficult because we ended up going with 4 instructional videos with the 11 sections that we were given, because some of them, they would not fill that 3 to 5 minute gap that the client was asking for. And I think with that, the team did a great job at just bringing certain units that worked well together, and yeah, it really worked out. At that point, it was important that we translated the storyboard into a designed, formatted PowerPoint presentation. And the client was very clear that we have to follow the University of Georgia Extension and WCAG compliance guidelines. So just making sure that all of that aligned was super important. The software that we used was a website called 11 Labs, and that was what we used to generate the AI voice for our scripted content. There was some research, and some of the team members had great suggestions for certain male and female voices that are commonly used in professional development scenarios like the ones that we are creating. And I think they did. I think they turned out great. Um, yeah, and at that point, those voices were then sent in to one of the team members to use for animation with the PowerPoint, with the storyboard, and now the voices. All of that can kind of come together, mesh together, and we can get that final product. And of course, closed captions was a big must on this project. When it came to animation itself, we used software called Vyond. This software helped translate these PowerPoint presentations into the animated instructional videos. You did get to see the demo from the one before that Tiffany showed, and but yeah, so Vyond was that software that we used. These are the challenges that we ran into during the development process. Some of the incidents was delay in the client meeting. So we got about a week of a late start on this project, and on a short summer class, that's definitely quite the chip taken out of it. Luckily, we were able to get in touch with the client. They were great at sending information that we needed and getting some meetings in with the project manager and the team as well. Dr. Branch was great at giving us those extensions to work with the incident, and then just our main solution was just to get with the client as soon as possible, get with our general manager over the project managers, which will be Dr. Branch, and just get access and to all the project plan, to delegation, and just to expedite this process. So we did have that chip on our shoulder from the beginning, but we made we used that week to get some planning, some work breakdown schedules, to get delegation of roles when it comes to the final report, the presentation, and the actual project out. Next, we weren't able to get access to George Accounts, which is the George Accounts database, uh, which would have been nice to be able to get some screen recordings of them going through some of these steps rather than the AI voice and some of the captions just being the one to show you. But I think that it still ended up great. The project team was not allowed access, and there was also a potential that an employee could provide recordings, but that ended up just not being a possibility. So we worked with what was given with us, and we relied on those PowerPoint screenshots that were provided by the client, and then as well as the George Accounts FAQ guides. So just sifting through all that information to piece, just grab every evidence that we can to help beef up those instructional videos to make sure that those students leave successful. And that final incident would be not being provided information about existing training materials. We did get the PowerPoints and those were great, but when it came to trying to get a little more depth on what the teacher says during these meetings and stuff, it was a little hard to get some of that information. Yeah, the client did not appraise project team of existing training guides posted through George Accounts, and then we did end up finding those. But we reworked the progress instructional videos to implement this new data as appropriate, and it did work out. So yeah, the client originally provided 11 potential training categories, and it left it to the project team's discretion to how many training videos that we would develop from these. So immediately, our first question was, is there enough content to fill 11 videos of 3 to 5 minutes? And there just isn't, which worked out. We created 4 videos based on the categories that would be sufficient context to build a training without the access to George Accounts. So again, giving some of the limited information that we were given. How do we piece these groups together to make a 3 to 5 minute segment? If it needed to be 6 videos, that's what it would have been, but we think 4 training videos hit all of the instructional topics and learning objectives that were provided us by the client. And this graph just shows a breakdown of slides by content. So all things media, special actions, getting started, creating activity reports, self-reporting, which is all in the video. So, all right. All right, and our recommendations for the client when it comes to implementation is to present the videos to the learners during orientation and provide them with a link and direct access to the videos. If they could get direct access to these videos and a link, they can go back to certain sections that they may not have grasped as well, or it's been 3 months and I forgot how this section works. Let me go back to this 3.5, 4 minute training video, and it's already sectioned out. So that will hopefully be great for them. We also recommend that you integrate this with your LMS of choice, if you have one set up, just to add activities, maybe some time for reflection, such as quizzes, maybe a discussion board or an activity, some sort of way for them to practice and reflect on some of those sections they learned, so it becomes second nature and they don't have to go back as much. And that final implementation that we recommend is advise learners to watch the video all the way through at least once before attempting to do anything in George Accounts. So yeah, we really hope the client would take consideration of those recommendations. And for future project work, what we may recommend is adding video walkthroughs with screen recordings of specific steps going through each task and trying to provide more in-depth step-by-step guidance. So if it's, to do this, if they can have a visual of it actually being done in the background, that would be nice. Of course, that takes resources. But if it is a future project, that's something we think would be helpful. And the other one would be to select, just to get feedback from agents about areas they need more guidance with, just in case there's future, tailoring that could be done to these training videos because we're not in the classroom, we're not in there filling in some of those gaps, and we're given some limited information. So If you feel like there may be a gap or a learning discrepancy here or there, yeah, try and get that feedback. We thank you for your time.